This episode of the Flush Podcast is brought to you by North Dakota Tourism, Federal Ammunition, Onyx Hunt, Nutrisource Pet Foods, and by Chief Upland. Today's show is going to be a little bit different than normal. We're opening up the phone lines, so to speak, and going live with our listeners. I really have no idea what to expect, which means this is probably going to be worth your time to listen in.
The Flush. So fast, it hardly seems real. So vivid, the moment freezes in time before erupting in a blur of spurs and feathers. It's why we changed the way upland loads are built with Prairie Storm. Exclusive flight control FlexWad technology and a mix of copper-plated lead and flight stopper pellets combine to create dense, deadly shot strings through any choke. Longer shots, more power, fewer missed birds. Only from Federal.
If you're still looking for a great bird hunting destination this season, then I strongly recommend that you consider one of my favorite places to hunt. That's North Dakota. North Dakota is a bird hunter's paradise. You can hunt waterfowl and upland birds all in the same day. Ducks and geese in the morning, pheasant, sharp-tailed grouse, and Hungarian partridge in the afternoon, or vice versa. North Dakota has a population estimate of 2.9 million breeding ducks, which is 19% above the long-term average, and their prairie pothole region is smack dab in the middle of the Central Flyway. This year's drought may have had an impact on North Dakota's landscape and some of their bird populations, but there are still regions in the state that have seen an increase in bird numbers this season. Yep, you heard that right. With a little scouting, you just might find yourself in a field surrounded by wild, flushing birds, creating memories that will certainly last you a lifetime. North Dakota has approximately 800,000 acres of private land open to public walk-in hunting. For the latest plots guide, visit the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. Bag your limit this fall in North Dakota. Visit legendarynd.com to start planning your hunting adventure today.
Welcome to another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank. I'm your host. Brandon Morton is our producer. Brandon, Christmas is almost here. Are you a last-minute shopper like me, or do you already have your presents under the tree?
I am so last minute, I don't even have anything picked out yet. So, yeah.
How many do you have to buy for? Do you have a number?
I'd say about 10 people, so I'm really pushing.
No. What are you going to do? You can't order online. It's too late.
I'll do what I do every year, and I'll use it as an excuse to go to the Mall of America and spend way too much money on the exact same product I could buy somewhere else.
Nice. Well, a happy early Merry Christmas to you. It's that time of the year. I'll just let you guys all know that Brandon and I are going to take next week off. So this will be our final episode of 2021. What a year it's been. Any highlights that stand out for you, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I've got to go hunting with the Flush guys. Is there a bigger highlight than that?
Well, there you go. That's on the top of your Christmas tree. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. How about yourself? Any special?
Well, as far as hunting goes, for work, I think, climbing mountains in Colorado obviously takes the top. That was just an incredible experience. That's going to be one of those shows it's in the works right now. I'm excited to get to work on it. And then of course it's hard to beat getting bucked off a horse. That's exciting. I did bag a few birds. I think though, the biggest thing for me is the time that I got to spend out in the field with my kids this fall, my family, my wife included, and then of course, watching my puppy turn into a bit of a bird dog herself. We've been getting out and about locally here. And then of course she joins me on all of our trips too. So I think too much to be thankful for, Brandon, if I'm being honest. That's hard to put it all into it's hard to pick just one.
I totally get that. It's a positive way of looking at things as well.
Yeah, a lot to be thankful for. I'm just one of those guys that we don't have video games in our house. We're not watching a lot of television. We're just out and about constantly. If I'm stuck in my house for a full day, I just go crazy. I just can't do it. So we're always busy. And if it's not hunting, I built a pond or an ice rink on our neighborhood pond, and I'm grooming that and flooding that at night. So the neighborhood kids and my kids are all out there. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, let's get to the show. Last week you mentioned you've recorded over 2,020 I think you said over 2,100 podcasts. Is that right?
That is correct. Over 2,100, which is crazy.
Have you ever done a live call-in show before?
You know what? This is actually the first for me. So it's a good experience. I'm learning something new, kind of.
Well, we both are, and it's kind of a live call-in. It's kind of you and I are meeting these the listeners, our guests, for the first time. Everyone except for our first guest, Tyler, because I met him a few days ago. And I'll tell you that story. But you've done live shows, live in-person shows. You do them pretty regularly with some of the other shows. What's that like?
It's a fun experience. It's really cool to be able to meet people who listen to the show, and it's an interesting experience, but it's really nice just to meet the people that help support the stuff that gives me a job.
Right. Same. Well, I know Scott Franz, and he was talking about doing a live flush podcast, and I think we're going to do one at Pheasant Fest coming up in March. But he was thinking about potentially doing another one even in the Twin Cities here in Minneapolis. So I don't know. I told him, I go, well, I mean, people listen to the show, which is awesome, and we're grateful for that. But would anybody want to come and listen to us talk in person? I don't know. I have no idea. So I guess maybe if you're listening to this and you want to come to a live show, maybe send us a message. Say, yes, please do it. I'd come. And it'll help us to gauge interest on that. But we do have a lineup of guests today. They're waiting. They're in queue. And I think it's ready. Good time to get to it. You ready, Brandon?
I'm ready for this.
Okay. Our first guest today is Tyler Horner. Tyler, is that correct? Did I say your name correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Welcome to the Flush Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time today. So I mentioned that you are not a stranger because you and I met 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, at the St. Paul Ice Fishing Show in Minnesota here. You came up and introduced yourself. So I feel like we go way back now. And in reality, we kind of do, because your hunting story is one that I have touched on a little bit on this podcast probably a year ago. Or maybe 2 years ago, you sent me an email, and then a year ago, you followed that up with another email, and then a couple of days ago, we met in person. So I'll take it way, way, way back. Do you remember when you sent me the first email?
I do. Yep. I was. I'm a pretty new to the sport hunter, so I was reaching out to you for some assistance.
Okay, and you asked me if you got to refresh my memory a little bit on this, but I think you were looking for some help in determining where you should go because you've got a new puppy, correct?
Sort of, yeah. So I had reached out to you. I was, new to hunting. I was introduced to the sport in 2015 at a game farm hunt, and then, I'd kind of used guides for 2 years at game farms, just kind of trying to learn the sport. And then, I was kind of ready to jump right into it with my own deal. So I had a black lab puppy that I got from a humane society. And I actually, the dog's name is Smokey. We had him in 2013, we got him. So before I even had started hunting. So in 2018, I decided to take it on, and I started training him. So we worked together and learned the sport together. And then in 2019, I got a German short-haired pointer. And in 2020, I decided I wanted to go to South Dakota. So I'd reached out to you late summer, I believe it was, with an email and just kind of said, hey, Travis, pretty new to the sport, never been to the state of South Dakota. Do you have a region in mind you'd suggest I go to, or any tips of where I could go? And it was just going to be me and my two dogs. And you sent a great email back with some information, and you had connected me with Casey Wisemantle out in Aberdeen.
Mm-hmm.
And I got some good information, and I was able to get out there and have a pretty successful hunt.
Yeah, and you wrote a letter back, and I read it, I want to say about this time last winter. And
Hmm.
you told us a story about watching your dogs and coming out. I think it was just a long, long retrieve that just
Hmm.
kind of capped off your entire hunt. And I enjoyed the message, so I read it on this show, and I appreciate you taking the time to do that. But then a couple of weeks ago, you came up and introduced yourself in person at the ice show, and it seems like the story just keeps on getting better from the first time you hunted in Aberdeen. You went back this fall, correct?
I did. Yep. Yep. Yeah, I
And
went back and same thing. I went there the same week as I did last year, me and my two
when
dogs.
wait, hold on a second. Where are you from, first of all?
I'm from Buffalo, Minnesota.
Okay, so for people around the country, that would be about an hour west of Minneapolis.
That's correct. Yep.
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 Okay, and so you went to South Dakota. What time of the season did you go?
It was the first full week of November. It was Veterans Day week. So
Gotcha. And who
um,
went with you this time?
just me and the two dogs again. I had a friend that was supposed to come with me, but um, couldn't work it out with his job. So just the dogs and I. So we drove out there, and it's I hunt public land. I don't really have access to private land, so just loaded the dogs up on a Monday morning, nice and early, and hit the road, headed towards Aberdeen. The plan was I'd be there till Friday. I just booked a hotel room for a few nights, and I'd stayed in contact with Casey, so I'd planned on catching up with him at some point. And I actually met up with him the Monday night I was there after a hunt. And I just stopped by his offices where he works at out there, and we got to talking. And he's like, "Hey, Tyler, how long are you in town for?" And I said, "Oh, I'm here all week, Casey." And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "I had a lodge that just reached out to me. They're short a guide for 2 days this week." He's like, "Is that something you'd be interested in?" I was like, "What? You gotta be kidding me, man!" Like, people would pay to hunt behind my dogs. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just a weekend warrior. I get out as much as I can. Um, uh, I think I'm a pretty decent hunter, and my dogs are. I think they're good. I was like, I don't know. That's a big undertaking. And he's
Yeah.
like, "No, no, I've seen your photos and all, and I think you'd be fine at it." He said, "How about I give the lodge your phone number, and you guys can talk about it." I said, "Yeah, that's fine. That sounds good." So, yeah, the next day, the lodge owner called me up, and we kind of did a little over the phone interview, and we got it all set up. So it was the Wednesday, Thursday that I was there in Aberdeen. Um, I met up with down at the lodge. We went out to the spot. There were 12 hunters, which is the most hunters my dog has ever hunted in front of. So it was the lodge
Did any
owner.
of the other hunters have dogs, or was it just all the expectation was on you and your dogs?
So it was the lodge owner was there, and he
Yep.
had his yellow lab, a 6-year-old yellow lab. So it was him
Okay.
and his dog, and then me and Smokey. Um, so yeah, there was 12 of us. We got a game plan together at the lodge in the morning and went out to the fields. The weather wasn't real great. It was 15-mile-an-hour winds with a light drizzle at times, but all 12 guys limited out on probably 2 hours. It's private land, all wild birds. Um,
Wow.
so we had a great day.
Wow.
Went back to lodge,
Wow.
had lunch,
What
and I
was
was like,
going
"Oh,
through your mind prior to that hunt? Were you nervous or were you excited about it?
I was extremely nervous. I didn't want to make a mistake. Usually I'm on the other side. I'm the client,
Yeah.
paying other people. So it was super neat to be on the other side, and I didn't carry a gun. It was just, I worked with my dog and made sure that he was doing what he needed to do, and I was doing my best to not make mistakes too. Um, but it went really well. It was super fun. I couldn't believe it. It was an excellent opportunity, and uh, afterwards, the lodge owner said, "Yeah, we're hunting one more day tomorrow. We'd love to have you back." So I got to go back the next day and did it all over again. Next day was the weather was a little rougher the next day. I think it was like 20 to 25-mile-an-hour winds with gusts up to 40 with
Hmm.
snowing. So, but still, everybody got all the birds, and yeah, it was a great time.
Wow.
It was really cool.
Wow. It's funny how the journey in hunting can change so quickly, and I have to imagine you've never experienced a pheasant hunt like that.
No, never. I've never walked on such pheasant-rich ground, and it was. Yeah, I took so much pride in watching my dog work and do his deal. And he started as a Humane Society dog. I had no idea his bloodline at all. He's a black lab coonhound mix.
Hmm.
We learned to hunt together. So to stand in front of 12 guys and work him through the field and watch him do his deal, it was really special for me. So
Oh, I bet. I bet. So now what? Did you go back to hunting any public lands out there, or was that the end of your hunt?
I did some public land hunting those evenings. I took my German Shorthair pointer. Her name is Ember. I hit some of the Aberdeen Pheasant Coalition lands.
Yep.
We did pretty good. We did, bird here, two birds there. I'd say in all, it was a successful hunt. Um, yeah, I had to take some time off to do the guiding deal, but I think the guiding thing was the highlight of that trip.
So you're gonna go back next year?
Oh, definitely. I will 100% be there.
Are they trying to hire you on full time?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just a rare occasion that they were short to guide. So, but
Huh.
I did reach out to the lodge owner afterwards and sent him a little care package and thanked him for the opportunity. And I think there might be some connections in the future, from what he was saying. I might be able to get back out there, but we'll see. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. You also sent me an email, and it's one of my favorite emails that I've received all year or maybe ever. I'm not entirely sure, but you said, and I'm just going to read this. In addition, you mentioned some of the hunts that you've been on this fall, but you said in addition, you always close the show with introduce a kid to the field. And while I have taken, or and you said, well, I have taken your advice with my 4-year-old son. A week ago, I took him with me on a pheasant hunt, a deer hunt, and a grouse hunt. He was with me every single step of the way. It was a special week for us, and you included photos below. And the photos are your son holding 2 pheasants,
Mm-hmm.
2 grouse, and sitting behind a deer with you. Giant smiles every single time, and it just warms my heart, Tyler. I can't even begin to tell you how awesome it is to see you out there with your son. What is that, as a fellow dad with young kids that have been coming out into the field, pheasant, grouse, deer hunting? What has that experience been like for you, and what are you trying to pass down to your son?
Sure. So I grew up in a family that wasn't into hunting. It wasn't a thing for us. My dad would occasionally take me fishing in the summer off the dock and whatnot, but we never did anything really hunting wise. So to learn the sport and be able to share it with my son, it's pretty special for me. Um, he loves it. We own a ice castle fish house, and between the ice fishing, the camping, and the hunting adventures, it's really special for me. He can't get enough of it. I love the innocence that he has with it too. He doesn't care if we have the fanciest shotgun or the fanciest fish finding equipment. It's just to be able to be out and spend the day with me. For him, I can tell is extremely special, and it just reciprocates to me too. So I love it. I take him as much as I can. Um, that pheasant hunt was a great time. We were walking through some pretty thick cover. He was right behind me the whole way. At some points, the cover was over my head, so
Wow.
he was kind of struggling to keep up a little bit.
it's
But
it's it's got to be tough for those little legs to keep up in that thick stuff. That's my challenge with my kids is we've done all the different hunts together, but they don't make it very far because the laid over grass is just really hard for them to walk through. I find grouse hunting is actually almost easier for them because they're not stepping through such thick cover.
and I think the grouse hunt was his favorite. So we were up north. near Lake Vermilion in the town of Cook. And it's a family farm. They have a couple acres up there. And so we were poking around in the woods to see what we could find. And I think we covered roughly 4 miles that day, my phone said. But there was 6 inches of snow on the ground. It was fairly cold out. And we were walking through the thickest cover and densest brush we could find because we were set. We were looking for birds. We wanted birds. And at one point, it was just me and the kid. I didn't bring the dogs with. I thought it'd be a little bit too much with his first hunt. So we had kicked up a grouse, rough grouse, and flushed it. I shot it, and it went down. And he walked over to go pick it up, and another one flushed off to the left, and I shot that one. And he turned around, and I thought, oh boy, that might have been kind of loud for him. He didn't know I was about to shoot, and I thought, what's he gonna say? He turns around and he says, "Dad, did you get that one?" I was like, sweet. So yeah, I got it. At one point, we were walking through the woods, and I turned around, and I'm kind of keeping an eye on him, and he's carrying this stick. It's like a 2-foot long stick. I was like, is he using that as a walking stick, or what's he doing? He's got it sticking straight out. I was like, what are you doing with that stick, buddy? And he goes, I'm pretending it's my shotgun. I was like,
I love it. I love it. I was going to ask you, so I have 3 kids, and they've all been hunting with me, variety of different hunts. And now when we're at home, they'll put up, they'll make their own deer blind in the basement or in their bedroom, and they're drawing hunting scenes on, scratch paper, and they're living out hunting moments just kind of based on their own imaginations. And I'm wondering, has your son started to do any of that?
Not really. No, not like that. Well, actually, just last night, he's got a Nerf gun, and he was asking me to throw up a ball and some stuffed animals, and he said he was going to try to shoot him in the air with his Nerf gun. So,
nice.
I guess, nice. Yeah, sort of.
Awesome.
Which I love because I know, the future is bright for him as far as opportunities go. We have 2 bird dogs, and I'm starting to learn a lot, so I can share a lot with him. And I know the day will come when he gets to get his first shotgun. We'll get to go out. He'll shoot his first clay pigeon, and with the ultimate goal of being his first wild rooster. So I'm pretty pumped for the future. I think he'll be pretty set.
Well, Tyler, I'm pumped for you. I love what you're doing. Keep it up. And I just think your hunting future is bright, and you're going to have a lifelong hunter that's going to be joining you in the field, hopefully for decades to come. And I appreciate you taking the time to come over and introduce yourself to me a couple weeks ago. And then, of course, taking some time today to share your story. Sounds like you've had a heck of a hunting season. Is it over? Is there any hunts left?
There are. I will probably get out on wild birds maybe 1 or 2 times. And then we actually have a pheasant hunt booked at a game farm with a bunch of family the day after Christmas. So,
nice.
A couple more hunts. We'll be out. So
Excellent. Well, Merry Christmas to you. Thanks again for taking the time. We're going to continue the show.
Besides a bird dog, a shotgun, and a good pair of boots, the Onyx Hunt app is one of the most valuable hunting tools that I take into the field every day. I've been talking about the Onyx Hunt app since we started producing this show, and that's simply because I use it on every single hunt. I'm serious. Every single hunt. Their app tells me everything that I need to know about the lands that I want to hunt and the lands that I can legally hunt on. If you've used it yourself, then you know that the Onyx Hunt app shows your location on planet Earth and clearly lays out the land boundaries. It also tells you information about the type of property you're on, like state land, federal lands, walk-in access properties, etc. It's ideal for scouting before the hunt and during a hunt to help put together the patterns that day. The app also has new features this year that show you the kind of crops that are in fields, which obviously is a big deal for us upland bird hunters. If you hunt grouse in the North Woods, there's a timber cut layer to help you find ideal habitat. If you're planning to hunt North Dakota this year, then there's a very important layer that has been added to the app that lets you know if a property has been posted electronically. These are just a few of the tools Onyx Maps give us, and these maps can even be used in areas without cell coverage. From the palm of your hand, Onyx Maps always help you to know where you stand.
All right, Travis, it looks like we've got our next guest lined up. His name is Augustus, but we were told that we could use Gus because Gustus is a bit of a mouthful.
It
How
is a
are you doing
bit.
this morning, Gus?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Gus, thanks for taking the time to join us. Where are you from? Where do you live now, and where are you from?
Yeah, so I grew up in northern Michigan in a little town called Bel Air, Michigan. And I actually am in PA school, physician assistant school right now in Billings, Montana.
You picked a terrible place to go to school. A terrible place to go to school. My goodness.
Yeah,
Good for
I know.
you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for a bird hunter, I'm not going to lie, it was a little strategic in applying to schools, and I think I'm pretty happy with where I ended up. So.
Yeah, well done. Well done. Glad they accepted you. How long have you been there?
In Billings, I've been living there only for about 8 months so far. I'm actually back home in Michigan right now for Christmas and stuff, and then I'll go back out to school in January. So.
Gotcha. So, did you grow up as a bird hunter?
Yeah, I did. So I've been bird hunting, since I could walk, thanks to my dad. I think like a lot of people, my dad introduced me to the outdoors. He actually he's a county forester, and has been for like the past 40 years. So I grew up outside. I grew up bird hunting, and we've had bird dogs ever since I can remember. So.
Gotcha. So when you went to, well, I assume you grouse hunted then?
Yeah, so I grew up mostly doing, rough grouse, and we did a lot of woodcock hunting also.
Gotcha. What kind of dogs did you have?
So I grew up with two German short-hair pointers for most of my life. And then I actually just got my own bird dog of my own 2 years ago, and he has a little Brittany Spaniel. But I grew up mostly hunting with German shorthairs.
Okay, gotcha. When you moved to Montana, did the dog go with you?
No, he didn't, and that was the sad part. So my dad was actually able to bring him out, just with school and everything. I knew it was going to be hard, and it wouldn't really be fair to my dog. His name's Hank, and I knew it wouldn't be fair to Hank to have him out there and not be able to hunt him as much as I wanted to. But my dad was able to bring him out for a weekend, a long weekend, and we were able to shoot some sharp tails and get on some sage grouse and stuff like that, which is really, really cool. But yeah, it's been hard for me because I haven't been able to hunt with my dog out in Montana, so I've had to resort to different options, I guess. A lot of solo missions for me.
So let's talk about this a little bit. Growing up hunting with a dog to going out hunting without a dog, it's a big transition. What's been the biggest challenge for you? Because I assume you've still been getting out hunting, even though your dog is back in Michigan. You're out in Montana.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's been the biggest transition for me. And like you said, I guess the biggest challenge for me has been, I guess, number one, I had a huge realization that, like a lot of us, we've been lucky to hunt with some really good bird dogs. I've been tremendously spoiled my entire life because, you have your dogs and they put you on birds so consistently. And, if you trust your dogs and you have a good bird dog, it's an amazing experience. But, after class, I've been going out and trying to get on some birds by myself. And it was really frustrating at first because I'm like, man, if you guys have hunted in Montana tons of times, but it's just like this vast expanse of sagebrush, and I don't even know where to start, So I had to go out and kind of learn the terrain, learn where the birds like to be, what time of day, they like to hold up at, and just kind of sitting and watching, seeing birds like the sharptails, especially seeing where they're going to fly to feed in the mornings and stuff like that. And I think it's actually made me a better bird hunter at the end of the day because I've been able to kind of study the birds and see what kind of habits they've been having. So I think, it was a hard adjustment at first, but I think it really has helped me out in the long run.
That's interesting because most hunters show up and they show up, usually at legal shooting hour if they've got a full day planned, and they get to a spot and they're like, well, we'll just start walking and see what we learn as we go. Whereas you could waste a lot of time and miles by just getting out and starting to walk. But I think your watching makes a lot of sense. And to me, the movements of a bird throughout the day change and where they're going to be. So I bet the timing is everything for you, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that was the interesting part because not only was I, hunting without a dog for the first time, I was hunting in a completely different environment, I've never been in before. So I killed my first sharptail with my dog when he was here. But before my dog got there for that weekend, I was, like you said, putting a lot of miles on the boots and being really frustrated. And a lot of the times coming home empty-handed or, getting shots at birds that are just too far and just, kind of kicking myself for not getting another dog out here. But it's been a really good experience. So like you said, it's just like observing the landscape and talking to locals too helps. And because it's surprising, I didn't realize how many guys either can't afford to have a dog or can't have a dog at their home. A lot of guys are walking and hunting and actually do fairly well because they know where the birds are at. And like you said, with the time of day definitely does matter. So.
What's it like being a college student out in Montana, wanting to go hunting? I know you've got a lot of access to BLM land, public lands out there, BMAs. There's a tons of public land. But do you talk to landowners? Do you go introduce yourself? Do you ask permission or advice?
Yeah, for sure. So I went to undergrad in Michigan at a little school called Alma College. So I'm a little bit older. I'm 28 for a college student, I guess. So I went through that a lot in undergrad. I got used to going and asking landowners permission and everything. So I kind of had some of those skills, how to talk to people when I got to Montana. And that's honestly what I've been doing. I do a lot of public land hunting out there, but a lot of it is just connections too. It's really nice with the program that I'm in. Everybody's so nice and friendly. And a lot of the students are from Montana. So a lot of, kind of networking there too helps a lot. Just mentioning to people, hey, I like to bird hunt. Who do you know in the area that does that? And, it's usually connecting with somebody's dad or grandpa or something like that and seeing if we can get permission. Cause I know a lot of people are kind of stingy about access because there's so many people that want to get on their property to hunt, which I understand, but it's just kind of developing those relationships and, taking the time to, if they say no the first time, that's okay. Maybe try again next year or offer to, help them bale hay or do something on the side. That usually helps sweeten the deal a little bit. So that's what I've been
Oh,
trying
yeah.
to do.
That stuff goes so far with landowners when you offer to help instead of just show up and take. I mean, it not only does that go a long way for you and your likelihood of getting access to that land for years to come, but also the big picture in that the next hunter that comes might get access, and hopefully they continue to pass it forward too. Um, do you think, Gus, that you're kind of like a spot and stock hunter now, or do you go and kick every thick bush you see out there in Montana? I mean, what's your approach when you get out in the field?
I'm a little more of a spot and stock kind of guy, I guess. I feel like I'm almost bow hunting when I'm out there with my shotgun.
That-
Yeah, and it's like, and then really, I mean, it's funny, but it's honestly that's what it feels like because I'm like, man, I don't. At first, I think it was a lot of kicking bushes and jumping into these coulees and seeing if I can kick something out. And I probably saw more mule deer the first couple times than I did birds. And then I started to figure out, if I just sit there in my truck in the morning and to see where these birds are flying, it's gonna be a lot easier on me, and make it a little bit more of an enjoyable day. So yeah, I've been kind of spot and stock. Or if I flush a bird one time, maybe I'll see where they land. I'll give them some time and try and come up with the plan to kind of sneak around and see if I can get a good flush to where I can, try and knock one down. So that's kind of what my approach has been.
Are there any weather conditions that seem more favorable to your style of hunting?
You know, I guess if I had to pick weather condition wise, man, that's tough. It's nice when there's a little bit of a stiff breeze going on because it kind of controls where the birds fly. Which is something I didn't even think about with the dog, because it's kind of like, you get the point, the bird flushes, and it's kind of like you just have to adjust to where the bird's flying. But being by myself, if there's a good stiff breeze, there's a good chance if I get downwind of that bird, he's not going to fight into the wind. He's going to fly right to me.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be the one weather condition. But with school and stuff too, it's kind of hard to pick and choose the days I get to go out. I kind of just go when I have time. So
Yep.
kind of all things go as far as weather's concerned for me.
So based on when you started hunting this season to where you're at now throughout the whole season, if you went out today, what's your chance of success versus when you first started hunting without a dog?
I would say I probably had like a 5% chance when I went out the first time. And now it's probably up to like 50-60%.
Really?
Yeah, maybe.
What's your best day, Ben?
Without my dog, I don't know. I flushed. There's one day. It was interesting too because when I move into the Billings area and you talk to people about hunting and you get mixed reports. Oh, there's no birds here. Oh, there's birds everywhere. So I was like, I guess I got to go see for myself. So I remember one day I went out there and I didn't even expect to flush any birds. It was like the 5th or 6th time I went out. I hadn't been super successful. And I ended up putting down 2 sharptails right out of the gate. And then I flushed. I didn't even need to take any more birds out after that. I was happy with that because I had class and stuff. I didn't want to have to deal with a bunch of birds. But I ended up flushing like 15 or 20 other sharptails. So that was like a really exciting day because I finally felt like, man, I think I'm finally starting to figure this thing out. I feel like I'm not wasting my time out here. So that was a pretty cool day. I remember that day pretty well.
Any wisdom that you can share with another hunter that might have to go out into the field or might choose to go out in the field without a dog?
Yeah, I think doing your homework and doing your research and just talking to people that are more knowledgeable than you, because God knows that I don't know everything by any stretch of the matter. So it's really nice to just talk to people, pick their brains, and yeah, just to kind of study and survey the landscape before you really just go out there and start putting miles on your boots. I mean, it's nice to be outside either way. It's better than I would rather be outside than be sitting behind my desk or whatever. So it's nice to get out and learn, by putting miles on the ground, but it's also, I think, a lot more beneficial if you really sit down, observe your surroundings, and try to talk to as many people as you can and try and get some good information.
Yeah, no, that's good advice for sure. Last question here for you, Gus. Is there a bird that's easier to hunt without a dog? I know you've got, I know you talked about sharptail and sage grouse, but I have to assume you probably ran into some pheasants along the way out there, maybe some Hungarian partridge. Is there a bird that tends to be easier to hunt without a dog?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. Back home in Michigan, woodcock you could do without a dog. I like hunting with dogs a lot better because it's just fun for the dogs because they hold so tight, and it's really good. In my opinion, I think it's a really good bird to train your dogs on because they just hold so tight, and you can get really good points out of them when they're young.
Yeah.
When your dogs are young, but without a dog, I think the pheasants might have been a little easier. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a tough question because every bird has their own challenge, I think. But I was able to kill a couple of pheasants. There was definitely more sharp-tails than I hunted than pheasants, but the pheasants seemed, for some reason, to be a little bit more predictable where they were going to be. If you could find some crops or some standing corn, you knew there were going to be pheasants there. So I guess that'd be my answer, probably pheasants.
Yeah, when you get out in Montana, I mean, you get into those draws, surrounded by crop, and there's some willows or patch of cattails, and there's a pretty good chance there's going to be a pheasant or two hanging out in there. And if you kick them around enough, you're likely going to flush a bird or, 10 or 50 or 100 out of there. I lied. I do have one more question. So being from the forest land of Michigan, going to the wide open prairie in Montana, did it meet your did you have expectations going out to Montana and bird hunting, or did it live up to it when you finally got to walk out there?
Yeah, I really, I had watched your guys' show a lot, and then, a lot of other bird hunting shows when I'm supposed to be studying and procrastinating watching bird hunting videos instead. But I didn't expect it to be as kind of silly as that sounds, as wide open as it is. And if you look across like especially eastern Montana where I was doing some bird hunting when my dog got to come to town, it was just so wide open. And if you're sitting in your truck, you're like, man, there's not a living thing out there. And then you get out there and you start to actually hunt. And you're like, well, there's birds. There's birds where you would never expect a bird to be. At least being from Michigan. So I think it definitely lived up to my expectations, but it wasn't necessarily what I expected going into it. But I think that was okay because it was a little bit of a surprise, and it's just been really fun living out there. I love it.
Very cool. Yeah, I can relate. I remember the first time I was in western North Dakota on a bird hunt, and all of a sudden, right at sunset, not only did we see the birds, but right at sunset, it's like you look around and there were 150 deer watching you. They're all standing up now and they're feeding, and you're like, where were you guys? Where were you hiding? How do you live out here? There's not a tree anywhere. From Minnesota,
Exactly.
Everything lives in the trees. And, out there, a little rock pile will hold like 10 deer. It's just completely different and awesome in its own way.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah. Gus, thanks for taking the time to join us today. Continued success on the rest of your hunting season, and I hope you go to class enough to graduate.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to try my best.
All right. Merry Christmas to you.
Yep, same to you. Thank you.
For generations, bird hunters have hit the field carrying some form of a vest or game pouch on their back. Sometimes the vest rip, tear, and fall apart. Other times they're just downright uncomfortable. That's why Chief Upland designed a vest that's durable, comfortable, and fits your needs. Their new Upland vest is fully customizable to fit the size and shape of all hunters. Plus, you decide where you want to attach your shell pouches and accessories. Birds can be front-loaded into the game pouch, and they fit nicely in the back without sagging. That's a big deal because the weight disbursement on your back and shoulders won't tire you out, even with a full pouch of birds. The vest itself is extremely lightweight, weighing only 2.56 pounds. The material is built out of Cardura fabric, which is the same waterproof fabric used in tactical military gear. You can confidently hunt with the Chief Upland vest in some of the world's toughest environments. Order your Chief Upland vest now to make sure that you're ready for your next hunt. Push further and hunt longer with the game-changing vest from Chief Upland, built for your pursuit.
Next guest is Dan Newsom. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
Yeah, thanks for the invite.
Well, I sure appreciate you taking the time today. Dan, where do you live?
I live in Southeast Ohio. It's at the foothills of the Appalachian Hills.
Gotcha. What do you hunt for down there?
Well, primarily, it's deer hunting country. Southeast Ohio is pretty well known, especially these days, for the whitetail here. Been an avid bow hunter for years, so that's really the main staple here. That and turkey hunting.
Well, what the heck are you doing talking to me on an upland bird hunting show then?
So I was one of the youngest in the state. I'm 47. I was pretty young when I got my hunting license, and my dad had my older sister rather. She wanted to get hunting, and my dad would work second shift. And long story short, I got my hunting license very early. Very avid bow hunter. Bow hunted and all my life, and I don't know, things were getting kind of stale, and I'd changed up hunting my choice of bow equipment back to recurves and that kind of thing to, just to kind of re-spark some interest. Friend of mine got me started and took me on a bird hunt, and I'd heard all these stories of my dad, back in the 70s, bird hunting with his Browning shotgun, and those stories just, they sounded really, really fun. And and after 78, we had a blizzard here in Ohio that pretty much decimated our pheasant population and the quail population. And those opportunities really just didn't exist for me. So we went to a preserve and I got a little dose of it. The weather was terrible, and the guide had pointer, or rather labs, and the flushing dogs, and just watching those dogs work, it just really just set something on me that I wanted to do this, and I wanted to get my own dog. But more importantly, I wanted to develop a bond between that dog and I, and both at home as a family pet and as a hunting companion. Because, all the stories that I seen on, heard people talk about, and I seen on television and seen on YouTube, I wanted that bond with a dog. That's what I really desired. And I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to be proud of something that I trained myself, and that, we did this together. So in short, I thought, well, I want a dog that can kind of be multi-purpose. I don't plan on quitting deer hunting, but the occasional dog for tracking a wounded deer, that sounded cool. So I started researching, and I settled on a wire hair. I want a wire hair, German wire hair. Well, I couldn't really find a wire hair close to me or anybody that really dealt with them. So was camping with some people, and we found some German short hairs close. So we take a sidebar mission on a camping trip and ended up with 2 German short hair pups, him and I both. And well, from there, the little Tasmanian devil just really kind of set in all of our hearts and our family.
What's the name of your pup?
So my love for the Browning shotgun started from my dad, and so I named my dog Browning A5.
Love it.
I just, the Browning story to me is a very intriguing one for a shotgun that was produced for nearly 100 years unchanged. It's pretty remarkable feat, I think, in firearms.
When did you get your dog, and was that your first one?
So yes, it was my first dog, and I got this dog in October. She was born September the 4th, and we went and picked her out when she became 6 weeks old. We went and brought her home, and I thought, well, there's no time to start training like now. So at 6.5 weeks old, my dad had, he had harvested a deer. So I put her on the track, and at 6.5 weeks old, I'm dragging her through the woods at 6.5. She's on the blood, and she's pointing. I'm like, this is really cool, So then
She
a week
pointed the
later,
deer.
oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. It was pretty neat. And then at 7.5 weeks, a week later, my mom, she harvested her deer with archery equipment, and so I put her on the track again. A week later, the same thing happened, and I was like, I think she's got a pretty decent nose. So 4 months goes by, and we're in the dead of winter, and I ended up going bow hunting, and I shot this deer with a recurve, and I knew it was a good fatal hit, but the deer had made such long strides. I kind of lost the blood, so I brought the dog with me because I'm for sure that it was going to be a quick recovery, but we lost blood, and I just, what, after 40 minutes of looking, I said, I'm just going to follow this dog. She just keeps acting and pulling like she wants to go in this direction. I'm just going to let her go, and I'm just going to follow her. I'm just going to trust that dog. Mm-hmm. Lo and behold, I trusted the dog, and she took me directly to the deer. It was such an unbelievable moment for me. Then I learned that, I don't know how to do this. I'm learning bird hunting. This dog was bred for this. This is what she knows to do. I'm just going to follow her instinct. So I think I learned really quickly that, when I do get into the bird stage, I'm just going to have to trust her because, she knows more about it than I do. I'm learning all that I can, but, it's really going to be up to her to train this guy. So together we worked.
So then, how long ago was this, and how old is Browning now?
So this was last fall, and Browning is now 15 months old. So in the interim, after that, spring came, I could see, her nose, and immediately from a pup, we started working on retrieve. We started working with, bumpers, and then we started working with scent. I would take pheasant feathers that I would save from preserves that I would go on, and I would zip tie them to the bumpers, and then I would start hiding them and fetching them, and then she would start, she was bringing them, and she was using her nose, but she's still, she's our companion, she's our house dog too. So, that bond that we developed started from the very beginning and with all of our family. But
how did you decide? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say through training and online resources and a host of everything else, I began training and working with her.
Gotcha. How did you decide on a training method that you wanted to stick with, or is it fluid for you still to this day?
It's still fluid, but what I decided was I didn't really want to work with a dog that someone else had started. I wanted that bond. That's really what I wanted. I wanted that companionship. So I looked at a lot of online resources, and I tried to stick with, some of them that was in this business. So I chose Standing Stone Kennels. They have some great videos on YouTube, and I joined a Patreon service. And through that, they was able to, watch me work with my dog, offer suggestions, and help me work on the things and critique me in manners that was really beneficial for me working directly with the dog myself. And, again, that bond is really what I desired. And I wanted to do it myself. I'm kind of, I don't know, when I dive into something, people tell me I have a tendency to dive straight into it and learn all that I can. And I absolutely did. I was searching every YouTube clip that I could see, find, and that I thought was credible. And, I'd take tidbits from here and there, and I would meet people, in Southeast Ohio. This is deer country. There's not a lot of bird hunting here anymore. And the people that do that are even fewer and far in between. So one day I was with, socialism is a very important part of dog training. So I took her to a youth turkey hunt that I've done for years with my kids. And there was a guy there, and he was like, man, I said, that's a good looking little dog. She was a pup then. This was in April. and this guy was a bird hunter. So we developed a relationship. We exchanged phone numbers, and later on in the summer, I got a phone call from him. He's like, "Hey, they're starting a Quail Forever chapter in your area. Thought you might be interested." Gave me the details. I went down to that, networked, met some few more people. I was thirsty for knowledge of upland bird hunting. So any type of people that I could network with that had familiarity with, upland hunting, I'd reach out to them. I've never been a stranger to talk. So that was a gift from my dad, I think. So I would try to do my best to network with different people and, learn all that I could about upland hunting.
That's awesome. What what advice do you have for somebody in non-bird, I guess you would call your area non-bird country? I've had quite a few emails and messages from people that live on the East Coast that say, what advice do you have for somebody that lives, in rural areas or places where there's not a lot of birds, that, I want to have a good bird dog. I want to be able to invest in time, but we don't have the resources here. What did you learn through your training process that has helped you and your dog living where you do?
Well, one other thing is the state of Ohio, it really does try to promote, they do try to promote upland hunting. Unfortunately, predation and farming practices, really do restrict and limit the amount of wild birds. But the state of Ohio they put out 14,000 birds a year at different release areas throughout the state. And you can go to those different areas. But one of the things that I did in trying to prepare her, I'm fortunate enough, I have a couple hundred acres here in Southeast Ohio, and then I'm on a lease. And one of the things that I did was I took an advantage of a program that the state of Ohio offers, and some permits that you can get, a propagation permit to raise your own pheasant or buy those pheasants and transport them and contain them on your property. So one of the other things that I did was I got with the state. I designated a private dog training area on a portion of the lease, and I utilized that 15, 16 acres. I cut strips. I went to the meetings to figure out with the Quail Forever program what habitat would sustain and what habitat that I was looking for. Doing my best, it's an ongoing project to try to work towards that, but I would use that training ground in the summers to work with her on her nose. I found out I tried to catch pigeons and do, bird intros, but pigeons are crafty little critters, at least for me anyway. So that wasn't so successful, but, I would take her in the field and I would do gun introductions while I'm just working with her without birds. And that was pretty successful. She's very motivated through scent. She has a very powerful nose that, she's really adapts to her surroundings and tries to find whatever it is that she can find. Working on steadiness, those type of things. A quick story there. I was working on her stay, which I started very early on stay. And, I have a beeper collar, her upland collar, and I had it set to the mode that, when she goes on point, it's beeping. And the weeds in this field are about head high, so you really can't see the dog when she's running about. But she goes on point, and she's solid on point. I'm like, stay. And I start inching up to the dog. And the time I got to where I could see what it is that she's pointing, I'm 5 feet from her, 4 feet from her, and it's a skunk. And I'm like, no. And, she steps right in front of me and bam, she takes it right to the face. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, I got a couple of those, but, she didn't like it very much. So, she's averted that ever since, thank God. But it was one of those just, training mishaps, you go through these things. And, I had the shock collar on her, but at the time it happened so quick. I was like, I didn't know what to do. I was just trying to get the heck out of there. And she stepped in the line of fire and took it right to the face. So I'm like, well, kudos, dog, but It was awful.
Can you imagine? So a dog, some breeds can smell up to 10,000 times better than humans, is what I've been told. And the smell of a skunk being so potent to our noses, what that must be like for a dog to just take a big whiff of that skunk right in the face. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it
Well,
was awful.
there's the good and bad from learning how to train your own dog. Obviously, you've experienced both. I'm looking at your photos right now. It's a beautiful puppy that you've got.
Yeah.
It's a cool journey that you've been on, but obviously it's consumed you at this point, I would say.
Oh,
It doesn't
absolutely.
seem like you're probably sitting in the deer stand nearly as often.
No, I absolutely have. So late October, the youth season, the state releases birds. So I was going to go get birds that weekend and do some more field work with her. And I thought, you know what? They release birds. These birds are free. So let me go to one of these areas and let me just take her and just see what happens. So I took my dog Crate along with me, my kennel, and I thought, you know what? If she acts skittish on anything, or if there's other dogs in the area, I didn't know what to expect because I'm new at this. So we took her out there, and the most remarkable thing happened. My dad was along with me. This dog, we let her go, and me and it's my son who's 14, my dad who's 73, and myself, and we're all three in a line, and we're cutting through this field, and this dog is just working back and forth between us, 15 yards in front of us. She's making lines, horizontally in front of us every 15 yards, and she's just like a typewriter, back and forth and back and forth, just like she's done it her whole life. And I was like, I looked over at my dad and I said, Dad, this is like a completely different dog. This is like not even the dog that we're accustomed to at home. It's just pure instinct. And bam, two roosters come flying up. She flushed them up right in front of my son. And he turned around. I'm waiting for the gun to go off, and there's no gun go off. And I'm like, what happened? So I was like, son, why didn't you shoot? He goes, Dad, to be honest with you, they scared me to death. You never heard cackles. You never heard him cackle before, because this was his first trip too. So, nevertheless, we flushed. She ended up flushing, I think, 13 birds. She goes on solid points. I mean, on the one bird, she completely did a solid point, locked up, steady to wing and shoot. He actually shot and missed, and she never moved until the bird was, completely out of sight. She stayed right there with me. But he missed. I fell in a hole. I fell backwards. I had to have help up. It was so exciting, but I was like, man, I was by this time, unfortunately, we're new at this, but my son had missed a few shots. We've been doing skeets and things like that, in preparation. He's pretty good, but we get started back to the truck, still no birds. She's put up like 12 or 13 birds, and she goes on point again, and she's down. We walk up, bird comes up, and boom, he misses the first shot. And then way out there, he nails this bird. The bird goes down. The dog is right on the bird. We're all so happy, just shouting. It was like, you just can't believe it. It's just really exciting time for us. For me personally, all of that work and all that training, it's like it paid off. That first bird was something that I'll never forget. My son was using the Browning shotgun, of course, the Browning dog. We have that bird at the taxidermist getting mounted right now, because it was just so special for us, all three of us, to be able to experience that together. And then the next day, my daughter, she's 17, she had to go. So we went back the next day. She got on some birds there, but we didn't get any, shooting opportunities. And then the four of us went back, myself, my dad, my daughter, and my son. We went back for opening day. So adults as well. We go out opening day, and she goes in the field, and this dog is, by now this is her third trip, and she's really getting the hang of it. You can just see things clicking on her. Hey, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And we all harvest our limit. So we all limited out on her very first outing with me as an adult. And I went into this with one goal. My goal at the end of the season for this year, I wanted just one bird. I wanted just one bird for her to be able to find her own bird, point it. And if I got just one bird, I would be happy. I would feel like that was a success. And so for her to be able to point and us to all get our limit, it was truly just a a really rewarding accomplishment.
That sounds amazing. Dan, I appreciate you sharing the story with us. It sounds like you've been on just an incredible journey. Your kids, being a part of it, your dad, everything. It's just phenomenal. Last question for you. Any plans to head to Iowa, Dakotas, Minnesota, anywhere that has, an abundance of wild birds to see what that's like?
Absolutely. I cannot wait, to get out west next year and do this. You know, I have these. I used to do a lot of out west elk hunting trips. I'll say a lot, but I've been on a few. Taking our
Mhm.
horses and our mules out there and packing up and going into the wilderness. But going through the prairies and on your way out through there, through Kansas and Iowa and all those states, I just cannot wait for this coming year to be able to get out there with our own dog and do this on wild birds. I'm researching all of the different plots lands and Jim's lands that I can find to go on, and I'm going to get there. It's just gonna take me some planning and some time, but it's an exciting adventure. I can't wait to try to share that with my family going forward and others, and just give it a go.
Yeah. One piece of advice, if you want it, you don't have to, or for anybody listening, this journey that you're on is still so fresh in your mind. Some of these stories that you just shared with us, and the skunk and the first birds and everything, just making a journal, of this journey you're on with your family and your dog, and someday you'll look back on it and you'll laugh at the stories. I've kind of got a chronicalized version because I tell people the reality of what I'm going through on this podcast, on our TV show. So I've got my own sort of journal, but I think you might enjoy not notching down a few of those memories on paper to look back on someday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I plan to do some video stuff. I used to do some video filming for other outdoor programs
Oh,
um,
cool.
in the hunting realm. So the I plan on trying to, and I've been taking my GoPro when I go and do those, but I'm looking at doing a little bit more with my more professional equipment to catalog those things, because I guess when you get older, these memories, that's what the true sport of hunting really is about for me personally. It's I can go back through and look at those photos and recall on the events that happened, and those are the memories that will stick with me for the rest of my life for sure.
Hmm. Fantastic. Dan, thanks for the time today. Thanks for reaching out to us, and Merry Christmas to you and your family.
Hey, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you very much for the invite. It's been a pleasure.
If you're like me and you love to hunt, there's a good chance you have a four-legged hunting partner that goes everywhere with you in the field. My dog gives me the best chance at finding birds, which is why I always want to make sure that I'm doing my best to give her food that helps her run at peak performance. I feed Daisy Nutrisource high-performance blends of dog food, which give me the confidence to know that she has all the nutrition that she needs to excel in the field and make it through a rigorous hunting season. Nutrisource dog food comes with their Good for Life system that includes 4 key ingredients that work together to support gut health, heart health, and the overall well-being of our dogs. Take it from me and my dog Daisy. Nutrisource high-performance dog food can help you and your dog excel in the field. Find the food that's right for your dog at NutrisourcePetFoods.com.
Just a forewarning, we had a couple technical issues with our next guest. No big deal. We get the gist of everything. He was a wonderful guest. Here he is. It's Jared Bigger in the middle of answering Travis's question. What made you get into chukar hunting?
I had no idea how much work it was going to be when I got started, but we're into it this far now. And to be honest, I think there's probably more chukar around here than there is anything else for me to find. So that's kind of that's the route we went, and that's the route we continue on.
So, how old are you, and how old is your dog?
I am 34,
Okay.
and my dog Winnie is a little over 2 years old.
Gotcha. And I think you sent in a message that you were not a bird hunter until you got the dog. Is that true, or you're more of an angler?
Yeah, so fishing consumed most of my winters. I was steelhead fishing, and that was a huge passion. I think if I remember right, you said you used to be a fishing guide, so you know the amount of
Yeah.
preparation and time and work and planning and just
Hmm.
obsessing over where and when and water and weather and stuff like that. And so consumed a huge part of my what I did outside of my full-time job. And then once we got the pup and the season closed down, I started looking for other things to do. And when I got my pup, I really I didn't get her with the intention of, training a bird dog. It was just going to be a family dog and a boat dog. Just I always wanted a dog that would play fetch in the water. And I never had a dog that would do that. And I guaranteed if I got this one, it was going to play fetch in the water.
Is
And,
that why you got a lab?
yeah, one of the biggest reasons. Yeah, for sure. And then my buddy's labs are just super mellow dogs. And you'd
Mhm.
either get a super hyper one or one that was real mellow. And mine's kind of right in between. But yeah, I got her and started looking into, well, I got this dog. I better start training her, sit, roll over, lay down, all that kinds of stuff. And you start searching training videos for labs on YouTube. You quickly get into the hunting world. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty cool. And it's been a long time since I bird hunted. And then, overnight, it turned into an absolute obsession for dog training and hunting and upland bird hunting specifically.
So when did you decide to take her up into the mountains after Chukar?
That's funny. So the reason why we ended up after Chukar was because obviously the easiest birds to find are quail and stuff around grain elevators. I live in a farming community, so I can
Okay.
find quail. But she would just eat them. You would shoot one and it would hit the ground, and there was no getting it back from her, and I'd done some gunfire intro, and I'd done some, played with some dead birds, but she tried to eat those too. And just like anybody else that's new to dog training, training's fun, but hunting is what the ultimate goal is. So why train? Let's just go get in the field, start hunting. And
Yeah.
probably a little too soon. And so digging through the archives of how do you get your lab to stop eating birds, I came across somebody that said, we'll find a bird that's too big to eat. And we don't have any pheasants over here. And I knew chukar are pretty big. And I was like, well, let's go see if we can find some chukar. You can't eat one of them things. And she didn't.
Oh my goodness. Well, so I've hunted chukar a few times, and it's not like it's just go out and find the chukar. I mean, it's a full on. Have you hunted chukar before? You took your dog up in the mountains looking for him?
I had prior to that, back in, it'd probably been 15 years since I'd picked up a shotgun and trunched through that miserable country. And, but I knew some areas where they were at, and where I thought they were at. And I hadn't even seen a chukar in years. And I thought, well, what the heck? I was just anxious to get out and hike. And she was so young, she wasn't even really hunting the first time we went out. She was just walking alongside me. She's probably only 13, 14 weeks old. I mean, she's just a pup. And so, yeah, I went to the area where I thought we could find them and actually found them. And it took me 3 or 4 trips to finally kill one. But once that happened and she found it and was excited about it, and she picked it up and brought it back and didn't try to eat it. I think it was overwhelming for her too. It was a big bird. That was kind of really what started it. It's like, well, now we know what species we're going to hunt because you'll eat everything else. So let's just stick with this until, you get a little older. And that's what we did. And then we never really quit. We have hunted quail since, and she has stopped eating them, but chukar's where we spend most of our time. I found a love for that miserable country.
Oh, isn't it? It's a painful obsession for sure, but also
It is.
extremely, extremely rewarding. What's your chukar population like this year?
It's actually been, I've listened to a lot of the drought and affecting bird numbers and stuff like that. I haven't seen it affect our chukar, at least not a lot of the areas where I've hunting. I have heard some people say that the numbers are a little low, but I haven't seen it. What I've seen is a lot of problems with our hun populations.
Oh, dang
You
it.
usually run into them kind of in between the rock piles and on the edges of wheat fields and stuff like that. And I just haven't seen them this year. So that's a little concerning, but chukar, I think they could live through an apocalypse.
So what does a hunt look like for you and your dog? What's your dog's name?
Winnie.
Winnie. Okay.
Like
So how does
Winnie
Winnie
the
hunt
Pooh.
for chukar?
That is, it's being a fleshing dog, and so this is my second full season, and I did get to hunt with a buddy who's got pointing dogs the other day. But I think it was about halfway through the first season I realized what the benefit of a pointing dog over a fleshing dog in chukar country is.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where it's like, oh, this would be so much easier if you pointed birds. Because you have to go everywhere where the dog goes, right? Because, I mean, you're like, man, that canyon looks good, but I'm going to have to drop 200 feet elevation. You know, my buddies, Short Hills, they'll run down there and check that for us. But my lab, she's going to check it. And if she finds birds down there, she's going to flush them. So if I want to get any chance, I'm going to have to follow her down, drop 200 feet, check that rock pile, and then hike back up. And so, yeah, she's gotten good at it. And like I said, we go a lot, and this is our second year. So we've developed a pretty good system, and we just take off and just trying to keep her in range. She's always pushing the limits because she's a go. And so she's out there, you know, I let her get a little further, 15, 20 yards. She'll even stretch out there a little further, and we'll play the terrain. If she's up above me, knowing the birds are going to fly down below me, if she flushes them, I'll let her get up a little higher, and stuff like that. But for the most part, the biggest struggle with her is just keeping her within range.
What's your success rate when you guys hit the mountains?
I always consider a successful hunt. So if I'm going to a spot where I've seen birds before, I just want to get one. Just one for her, because she works so hard. It's like, if I just knock one down, she can get a retrieve out of the deal, that'd be great. Going to a spot where, you know, checking new areas, just finding birds, just getting into birds. And I love it now with snow on the ground. I can see tracks, so it keeps you going a little further. It kept me going a little too far last time I went out. And so, yeah, if I can just get one bird, that's usually my goal. And to be honest, you look at some of these guys on Instagram posting lines of, you know, 15, 20 chucker. I don't know where they're hunting, but that is impressive. Because I think the most I've killed in a day this year is like 4.
That's still pretty good. Hey, that's good.
It is. Absolutely.
Don't worry about what you see on Instagram. Instagram can paint a picture that isn't always accurate, I would say. No. But I think, you know, like your success looks different than my success, than the next guy. You know, I mean, like, I don't know. I just think, you know, what you're doing is unique, and maybe you would say you're not going to do it for the rest of your life. You might eventually say, you know what, I love chukar hunting, but I also see a value in a dog that can go to the top of the mountain and the bottom of a canyon to check for me. So who knows what it might turn into? You might end up with a team someday out there on the mountain. But either way, super cool.
Yeah, no, it's been a great learning experience, and yeah, there has been some plan in the future to get a pointing breed of some kind, but right now it's one of those things where she's my first dog, and I've put so much effort into her, and we've had some highs and lows that I kind of got to give her a chance at glory before I add another dog to the mix, because they're her birds, especially when we hunt with other dogs. She gets competitive, and then I'm really fighting to keep her in range because she knows she's got to get to them before they do. So.
Hey, I've got a dog that has to be in front always. I totally understand what you're going through, but I'm on flat ground most of the time. Also, I will say, a little envious because I am a glutton for punishment like you, and I like to challenge myself, and I like to hike up mountain peaks and watch a dog hunt on top of a mountain. If you've never done it, I encourage you to do it because it's a life-changing experience. Just words don't really do justice to it. So it's worth the trip. If you live east of the Mississippi, go west of the Mississippi on a hunt one time. If you can do it, if you have the means to do it, I highly recommend it. Jared, how long is your season last out there, and what's left for you this year?
We go and cleared until January 31st this year. Actually, it's a little longer. He gave us an extra 2 weeks this year for chukar, so nice. Looking forward to that. Although January tends to be cold and snowy, and access to some of the spots can get a little bit limited, and the area where you can find birds gets a little bit limited because they move to find area where there's a little less snow because they don't like that 2 feet of snow either.
Yeah. Well, doesn't that make it easier for you because they push it down the mountain?
It does. Yeah, it pushes them down the mountain. And sometimes that's easier and sometimes it's not. I'm a guy that likes to get up on top, the highest point, and walk ridges and stuff like that. And then when you look down to the hillside that's, 2,000 feet of elevation drop, and that they're somewhere on that hillside. And the side hilling it's like mountain goat side hilling. And so I would prefer not to side hill if I could. So I'll definitely chase them down there. But yeah, the country that I'm in, you're kind of either on top or you're side hilling. And so that does make it a little more difficult, but
it doesn't seem like it would be the case, but climbing up the mountain when you're hunting that way is actually the easiest walking that you'll do, because side hilling is tough and going down is tough. It's weird, but your body, the angles, it seems like going up is the easy path, even though your lungs might think otherwise.
Yeah.
Jared, appreciate appreciate you taking the time today. Love that you hunt chukar with your lab. Keep it up, and have yourself just a phenomenal Christmas and New Year's.
You as well, Travis. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
All right. I think we may have saved the best for last. I'm going to introduce our next guest as Frank the Tank, but that's not actually our guest name. That would be our dog's name. Is that or your dog's name? What is your name, sir?
So my name is JB Stahl, and my dog's name is Frank, and that's his Instagram account is Frank the Tank.
Love it. Love it. It sounds like you have had an interesting season, or perhaps just an interesting hunt that's worth a few minutes to share.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are you from, and where have you been hunting this season? We'll start there.
So I'm from Dover, Ohio, the land far, far away from any native pheasants since the winter of '78. But we started our season out. I actually got Frank last year, and we started our season out this year in South Dakota for the first time, and everything went wrong as would be expected for a first trip out west, not knowing exactly what you're doing. But the group of 10 of us, I happened to be the only one to shoot a rooster each day, which was
really for 10 guys, only
10 guys.
One bird a day.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Where in the world were you hunting that you did not find more than one rooster a day to harvest?
Well, so we started out planning for the trip, and I looked at the South Dakota pheasant map of where all the birds were going, and we ended up initially in Herrick, South Dakota, is where we booked our place, and that's where we thought all the birds were.
What was the name of the town?
Herrick. It's like 6 houses. It's about 2 hours away from Winter.
Okay.
And all the good stuff that comes along. Everybody says Winter, South Dakota, and all that. So we ended up having to drive after the 20-hour trip, driving 2 hours a day to get into the good hunting, walking areas and all that stuff. And then we went up by is it Fort Pierre, and all that stuff to try to do the grasslands and all that. So there was just a lot of mental frustrations that we had to overcome to keep it a good time. But like I said, I got a bird each day, and we learned a lot. We learned a lot how to use the Onyx app to help us actually find what type of places we got to go. And then we got some contacts on where to go next time to have better luck. So
it's not as easy as it looks on TV, is it?
It is not, man. I've been watching the show for the whole last year thinking, man, we're going to get 300 flushes a day. And,
I know. All you do is just get out of the truck and you start walking, and the birds just get up, and a lot of times your dog goes on point, and
I know.
Nothing to it.
I was very shocked after the first 10 minutes that I didn't have a bag limit, but yeah, no, it was a good time. So
I'm sorry that you didn't, but what a cool learning experience, right? That's what we got to say. If you're an Instagrammer, then that's where the sunset photo comes in, where you're like, just a good day to be out there.
It was, and you know what? We had a memory made for sure. We had my brother-in-law, and he's a twin, so we had my brother-in-law and his brother go with me, and their dad went, and then my dad, who's not actually a hunter, he went, and he was the camp cook with their dad. But the first rooster that we found was on a walk-in area that I'm sure had already been pushed through 2 or 3 times that day, and my boy Frank pointed it. This rooster flushed up. It was about 35, 40 yards away from us, and I was carrying my grandpa's 12-gauge Stevens side-by-side, and I shot that. It has 2 full chokes, and I shot that bird and went down. My dad was there. So we had 3 generations for a picture: my dad, me, and my grandpa's gun with my first rooster in South Dakota over my dog. So
That's awesome. How many other hunts have you guys been on this
so we'll have
season?
better luck next time.
Oh, I'm sorry, I lost the connection there.
I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, good. I lost you there, but you got a photo with 3 generations with your first pheasant, right?
Yep. Yeah,
awesome.
It was pretty cool. Just it was a good time.
So, where did your journey go after that point? Because you did a bit more hunting yet this season, correct?
I have. I've been hunting almost every day that I've been off. I'm a fireman, so I have 24 on, 48 hours off, which is nice during the hunting season.
Where do you go?
And we go out to 15 minutes away from here. There's a game reserve that releases birds each day. And they have youth hunts, before the season starts, which was after our South Dakota trip. And actually, there's just a little backstory about Frank. He got hit by a car this summer.
What?
And almost died. He had, I was in a hazmat class, and I got a call saying that somebody dropped him off at this vet, and he had a double lung hemopneumothorax, and he had internal bleeding and some broken ribs and cuts all over him. And so I got covered, and we rushed him up to a 24-hour emergency vet clinic, and he spent a week up there, and it was amazing. I put on, social media. I'm part of a short hair page, and I had put on there that Frank got hit by a car and, all that stuff. And man, the love and stuff that started getting sent to us was absolutely amazing. And man, I had people from all the way over in England sending me money for his vet bill and all this stuff. And
wow.
Just absolutely amazing. And we were able to, he made it, And so that really changed my perspective on how I hunt with Frank this year. And so I've been trying to get guys anyone that had any interest in upland hunting, I've been trying to get them out in the field with Frank because, Frank's my dog, but everybody helped keep him alive, And so I've hunted just locally out here with the birds that get released, but I bet you he's had probably 30 new enthusiastic hunters go out with him and get birds shot over him this year. And
that's incredible.
It's been such a cool year of firsts and seeing everybody's eyes light up with their first bird and Frank bringing it back for him and everything. So yeah, everything else has just been local, but it's been a very special season so far.
Do you have any, besides that first, 3 generation South Dakota pheasant, are there any other birds that stand out to you?
Yeah, there's I was, so like I told you, I've been taking people out all year, but I've only been out maybe twice with just me and Frank, And so the one time, thanks, Jason, man. Thank you, buddy. The one time that I got out with him, I thought we're going to walk around this lake, and this is where these birds always go after a while, and we'll go check it out. Well, Frank flushed this bird up, and I missed twice, of course. First time by myself out with them, and I missed twice at it. And we track it where it went down, and we go back down to see it. We can find it again, and sure enough, this thing is right up along the side of the lake. Frank points it. I see it. I flush it. I shoot it, and it just goes down like 15 yards into this lake. I'm like, perfect. Frank's going to go get this bad boy. It's going to be a water retrieve. First time out, really by myself with him, and we got the bird on public land and everything. And go get it, Frank, go get it. And he takes like 3 steps into the water, and there's ice, thin layer of ice over the water, and he's not having it. I'm like, no, Frank, I need you to get this bird. And he tries like 3 more times, and he gets a little bit farther out, and right where his chest is in the water, the ice keeps poking him in the chest, and he can't swim and break through the ice, and he just doesn't do it. And I'm like,
This is where Dad has to show him how to do it, right?
No, it is. So I had about a 5-minute internal struggle with myself on what type of ethical hunter I am and whatnot. And so sure enough, I start stripping down the layers, and I'm like, well, the water's clear. So I got that going, and I'm a search and rescue diver for the fire department. So I go try to find bodies in this type of water and stuff. So I thought, I can do this. Well, there's a lot different fears whenever you're pretty much butt naked in ice cold water.
Did you call anybody to let them know that you were going in?
I did not, actually. I left Frank's beeper on. I use a caller with like a DT system, so it's got a beep on it every 6 seconds. So I kept that on, thinking, well, if I go down and I get stuck and I die, at least Frank's got a beeper on, and somebody will be able to locate me within 500 yards of where I'm at. But being the 30-year-old guy that I am, I recorded the whole thing on my phone, but didn't call anybody. So
how many layers did you have to take off to get to where you wanted to go?
Oh, I stripped down. I had my underwear. That was all I had, because I thought, well, I want dry clothes whenever I get out of the water.
Right.
So I stripped down, and 3 steps in, Frank comes barreling into the water behind me and puts his paws up on my back and almost dang near pushes me over head first into this ice water black muck stuff. So
oh my gosh.
I recover from that, and then I take one more step, and my foot goes down probably 1.5 feet down into this black sediment muck, and it starts bubbling up, and it smells, and it freaked me out. So I back out, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get this bird. And then I'm like, well, I got to get this bird. So I put my boots on, and I go back out into the water thinking, well, that'll help my mental mindset of going through this muck. And I got probably 6 feet from the bird, and my foot got stuck, and I couldn't get it out to take another step. And the force of pushing up with my leg made my other leg sink down further, and I sunk all the way down past my waist. And the video shows I just have sheer panic on my face. Like I'm going to die under this water in this muck. Frank's just staring at me. And, man, so I got unstuck, and I had to leave the bird there. I couldn't get it.
How did you get out? Because I'm envisioning you pulling your feet out of your boots. I've been in muck like that before, and it's really, really difficult if you don't have anything to pull yourself up with. Because you didn't have cattails to grab, did you?
No. I had nothing. So I was trying to balance and wade through this muck, and there's water up to my waist, and this muck's down underneath the floor of the water. And it had those lily pads all around. It was just a picture of the worst pond that you ever want to get in butt naked, and that's what it was.
Oh my gosh. So I assume you walked back out covered in mud with boxers.
So I got out of the water finally. I kind of just kept shaking my leg around, and that water broke up the muck, and I got out. I probably ruined my brand new boots, which I actually saw you wearing on the show. That's why I went and bought them. Those
nice
wing shooters, right? They're great boots. They stayed on my feet, but they smell like muck now. So I got out, and I actually took my first layer of clothes, and I used that as a towel, and I put my big jacket on just over top of me and just sat there for a couple minutes and warmed up. And then whenever I could feel my toes and my legs again, I threw my pants back on, no socks, put those boots back on after I kind of squeezed them out and made the 1.5-mile trek back to my truck.
Oh my goodness, that was my next question. How far were you from the truck? So a mile and a half away.
About 1.5 miles away.
So as a first responder rescuer that you are, looking back on that situation, do you think you made the right decision at all that day?
I don't like leaving birds lay,
Yeah, I hear
it's
you.
just it drives me nuts. And that bird was going to be the most rewarding bird of my life. I would have cooked it with the feathers on just to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, you got to enjoy every part of that thing. But, so I had to give it the old college try. And, I would not have recommended other people do that, but I fight through the muck and everything else and just didn't work out. But yes, thank the Lord, I'm safe. I didn't get hurt. Frank's safe. And, some catfish got a tasty pheasant dinner.
So it didn't, you didn't get to go back and recover it another day?
Well, so I did try. I actually went and I bought a huge treble hook and I bought fishing line. I bought paracord. I even bought waders, right? I was like, well, if it's frozen in the ice, I can go get this thing, the next day. But it had warmed up later that day. The ice had melted and then it drifted somewhere and I couldn't find it again. The next day I went out and I couldn't find it. And so it's like, it's a terrible ending to a terrible story, honestly.
Sounds like an incredible story, actually. Yes, they don't always have happy endings. I guess I'll say this. The happy ending is Frank is still there. He survived a car crash. You survived almost drowning, and you lived to tell another hunting story another day, and with us too.
Absolutely, I never would have guessed that. But
I think you just you topped the show right there. We're gonna end it. We're gonna end it right there on that. Brandon, are you good with ending it right here?
Absolutely, of course.
Do you have any follow-up questions for Frank the Tank or for John?
No, the story was great as is. I don't even know if I need to ask any questions.
I know. I think we just leave it there. I think we say Merry Christmas to you. Brandon, I thoroughly enjoyed all of the guests today, and none of it would have been possible without you and all of your hard work. I know we had a couple of internet connections, but hey, we're learning as we go on this, right?
Exactly, and it's fun to hear from the listeners and hear everyone's unique stories too.
Yeah, absolutely. My goodness, we could do this again. I have a long list of others that reached out as well. So if you like this show, let us know. Maybe we'll do another one again soon. Once again, Brandon and I are taking a week off here between Christmas and New Year's. We hope that you and your families have a safe and wonderful Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's. We're going to be back. I'll be in quail country the first week of January. I'll get you a update on what I'm seeing down south for I'm going to be in Arizona hunting quail down there. I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to closing out the season here in Minnesota. I'm going to get out and do a little bit of hunting. I hope you do the same. Brandon, maybe I'll give you a call and see if you want to come out and join me. I'm not going to take you into the water. I promise you that much. I will not do that. I'm not like Scott. Couple of last things here. Our television show is wrapping up. The final episode next week will be on the Outdoor Channel. Our road trip through South Dakota, probably the birdiest hunt I've ever been on. Hope you tune into that. And then if you're a cord cutting streamer, you can be excited because starting the first week of January, we will be uploading our full episodes from this season to our YouTube channel and eventually to Amazon as well, where you'll be able to watch them in their entirety. So look for that soon. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the uploads when they come in. Closing thoughts, Brandon?
No closing thoughts for me. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. You and your family, hope you all stay safe and just enjoy being around each other.
Yes, thank you, Brandon. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of your hard work. Appreciate all of the listeners. Once again, thank you to our sponsors, North Dakota Tourism, Federal Ammunition, Onyx Hunt, Chief Upland, and Nutrisource Pet Foods as well. Again, our hunting season is waning. Get out there and enjoy it every day. You may have a story like Frank the Tank. You may have your first hunt, somebody else's first hunt, something to remember. A success is different for everybody. So find something to appreciate about every bird and every walk that you get to take with your dogs. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next week. No, we won't. In 2 weeks with another episode of the Flush Podcast. I'm Travis Frank, reminding you to take the time to introduce someone new to the field.